It's funny. Usually when we talk about like a medical diagnosis or something, there's this expectation of absolute precision.
Right, yeah, like engineering.
Exactly. Like you break your arm, you get an x-ray, it shows that jagged white line, and the doctor just points at it and says, there it is.
It's very binary. Broken or not broken.
Yeah, and it's comforting. We really like things to be visible and neatly categorized. But then, you step into the world of human psychology, how we actually learn or love or govern ourselves.
And suddenly that x-ray machine is completely broken.
It is entirely useless. We're looking at this diagnostic landscape that is, honestly, it's incredibly murky.
Oh, absolutely.
Which I think perfectly sets up what we are getting into today. Because welcome to the deep dive. It is Friday, May 15th, 2026, and today we have a massive, just fascinating stack of sources from you, the listener.
And it's quite a mix this time, right?
Oh, it's wild. We've got deeply personal essays from this one particular author, and they are woven together with, of all things, formal legal documents about contract law and consumer rights.
Which sounds disjointed, but the connections are actually brilliant.
They really are. So our mission today is to extract the most counterintuitive insights from these texts. We're looking for those exact moments where doing the complete opposite of what society expects actually leads to these profound discoveries.
Yeah, because the true value of these essays, it's not just the stories themselves, it's the universal patterns of human behavior that they just completely expose.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this. Because the first section we have deals directly with our physical reality.
Health and time.
Yeah. Common sense tells us we should strive for perfect health, right? Total efficiency. But the author completely shatters this in an essay called Silent Voices.
This is such a great piece.
So he recounts this grueling overseas tour he took. He's exhausted, barely holding it together on the flight back. And he notices the guy sitting next to him who is, he's 85 years old.
And he's doing great.
He is phenomenal. He's reading, watching videos, totally unfazed by the trip. So the author asks him, what's your secret to longevity?
And you would expect the answer to be, like, marathon running or drinking kale smoothies every day.
Right. But the 85-year-old man says his secret is being slightly unhealthy.
It's just a brilliantly unexpected premise.
Right. Slightly unhealthy. How does that even work?
So the older man explains that one morning he was looking in the mirror and he noticed this very slight facial twitch.
Just a twitch. No pain, no numbness, just a tiny anomaly. But because he operates under this assumption that he is, like, at his baseline slightly unhealthy, he didn't just brush it off. He didn't ignore it.
Exactly. He went straight to his clinic, and it turned out to be the very early stages of a stroke.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And because they caught it so early, he recovered completely.
See, if you think about your own life, or really anyone listening right now, if you consider yourself perfectly healthy, you ignore that twitch.
You absolutely do.
You just assume you slept funny. You tell yourself, I run 3 miles a day. I can't be having a stroke.
It's the iceberg theory, but applied to human biology.
Right.
That minor facial twitch is just the visible tip of the iceberg. The illusion of perfect health creates this massive, dangerous blind spot.
A totally false sense of security.
Exactly. But acknowledging that you are vulnerable, like embracing a state of minor persistent illness, it creates a life-saving vigilance. He survived because he never trusted his own body's silence.
But wait, let's really debate the mechanics of that for a second. Doesn't constantly assuming you are sick cause massive anxiety?
It sounds like it would, yeah.
Because if you are always hyperfixating on a twitch or a stomach ache, aren't you just living in clinical hypochondria? I know people who track every heartbeat on their smartwatches, and they are just miserable.
It's a vital distinction to make, and it hinges entirely on the difference between anxiety and awareness.
Okay.
Hypochondria is driven by a fear of the unknown. It's adversarial. You view your body as an enemy that might betray you.
Like a ticking time bomb.
Right. But the 85-year-old man's approach, which the author ends up adopting, is collaborative. It's listening to those silent voices.
Oh, I see.
Perfect health makes you deaf to your body's whispers because you've convinced yourself they shouldn't exist. Being slightly unhealthy tunes your frequency so you can hear the whisper before it becomes a scream.
It's not panic, it's just calm acknowledgement.
Exactly. It's dropping the ego of invincibility. And that exact same mechanism, dropping comfort to prevent a larger catastrophe, is how the author approaches pain in another essay about a foot massage.
Oh, the story is wild. He basically tortures himself to heal, right?
Did not.
So he was in his 3rd year as a salary man, working these awful night shifts, and his body was just breaking down. He had this chronic pre-disease fatigue.
He couldn't sleep, digestion was a mess, brain fog.
Yeah. So he picks up a book on foot massage that advises pushing out the toxins or dirt by literally crushing them.
Then he doesn't just casually rub his feet.
No. He buys a pointed plastic stick and he pushes it into his foot until he hits a physical lump under the skin.
Which sounds agonizing.
And he pushes through it, like crying in pain for 10 minutes every single night for a year.
Let's look at the psychology of that choice.
Right.
Because biologically, we are wired to avoid pain.
Right. Modern medicine is basically built on masking it.
But here, the author is viewing pain as a proactive surgical instrument. By enduring that intense, localized voluntary pain, he cured the systemic fatigue that was ruining his life.
He crushed the lumps out over a year, and the fatigue vanished.
He paid a massive upfront cost in localized suffering to buy back his systemic health.
And that upfront pain is such a perfect framework for how we structure our careers, because the author maps this exact philosophy onto the concept of the 65-year-old moratorium salaryman.
This is where he really flips the script on what society calls success.
Yeah, especially in Japan, but really in any corporate culture, the ultimate goal is job security.
You stay at the company, you don't rock the boat.
You maybe transition into an advisory role, and you secure structured work past the age of 65. Society views these people as the absolute winners.
But the author calls this a trap.
A devastating one.
He argues that staying in that secure job past 65 is actually just delaying the inevitable. It's a moratorium. Eventually, whether you are 65 or 75, the music stops.
You are going to face free time, life without a title, or an HR department telling you where to be.
And those successful salarymen are the least equipped to handle it. They spent 4 decades outsourcing their identity to a corporation.
They haven't built an internal architecture at all.
On the other hand, the people who maybe didn't have stellar careers, who faced friction, who got laid off early on,
they're forced to adapt to unstructured life way earlier.
They took the bean early. Just like the foot massage, they hit the lump in their career, it hurt, but they worked through it while they still have the neuroplasticity to adapt.
We can frame this using the peak end rule, right, from behavioral economics.
Exactly. The rule states people judge an experience largely based on how they felt at its peak and at its end.
So if you coast on inertia in a secure job, you are setting yourself up for a catastrophic bad end when the structure finally collapses.
You hit 75, the job ends, and you fall off a psychological cliff.
You see this all the time. People retire and just rapidly decline because the shock of the emptiness is too much.
But if you face the struggle early, the pain now buys you the good end later. It's an active manipulation of your own timeline.
Which brings us to how we perceive time itself. The author has these essays on the idea of living life twice.
And he proposes a completely different physics of time perception.
He notes that young people feel time moves slowly because their future is vast. For a 15-year-old, 6 months is a massive percentage of their life.
But for a 45-year-old, 6 months is just a busy quarter at work. It's a blip.
But the fascinating part is how adults can actively hack this subjective experience.
Because if your future is only filled with anxieties like declining health or the collapse of your career, your mind dreads it so much that time feels like a slow, painful crawl.
Your brain hyper-focuses on the stress of the present.
But if you place a highly anticipated, joyous event in the future, time actually stretches out comfortably.
Think of it like a rubber band. If you pin one end to the mundane present and the other end to an exciting future event, like a trip, or the author wanting to go on a date with his granddaughter in 20 years.
You stretch the present moment out. It creates this beautiful tension of anticipation.
It makes the now feel longer and richer.
Neurologically, looking forward to a reward can sometimes produce more sustained dopamine than the reward itself.
Which directly challenges modern productivity hustle culture.
Oh, entirely. The author mentions seeing a video claiming that never procrastinating basically doubles your life.
And he completely eviscerates that idea. He argues that lazing around, looking at a to-do list and saying, I'll get to that eventually, is a profound psychological luxury.
Constantly optimizing doesn't double your life. It just fills it with twice as much processing.
It turns you into a machine.
Forgiving yourself for procrastination prevents burnout. It's a form of dialogue with yourself, asking, why don't I want to do this right now?
And instead of just overriding your instincts, think about your inbox right now. You probably feel that urge to reach inbox 0.
Because society tells you a clear inbox equals a clear mind.
But all you're doing is inviting more emails. Lazing around reclaims your own rhythm.
And that danger of over-optimizing is exactly what destroys the mind when we apply it to education.
Oh, section 2. The essay about his father and the sake lids. This is heartbreaking, but so revealing.
It perfectly shows how good intentions become psychological poison.
So the author is like 7 or 8, and he loved collecting sake bottle lids. It was just a hobby.
And his father, wanting to ensure he performed well, heavily supervised a school writing assignment about it.
Supervised is an understatement. He practically engineered the essay. He made the boy rewrite it over and over, demanding adult insights.
And at the very end, he handed him a piece of paper with a cool concluding thought to copy down.
The line was something like, "My mother says she doesn't know what's fun about it, but you don't know it, it's fun."
And the author had to stand up on parent visiting day and read this aloud to the class.
He describes it as a profound, enduring humiliation. Decades later, he remembers it. He says, "I would never say something so creepy."
It wasn't his voice. It was an adult wearing a child like a ventriloquist dummy.
The irony is, the father thought he was doing good parenting.
But by hijacking his son's voice, he completely killed the author's love for reading and writing for decades.
He developed this habit of trying to figure out the correct book report answer before even finishing a book.
Reading to comply, not to discover. And the contrast with his younger brother proves the point.
Right. The brother was a notoriously poor student, so the parents just dumped him at his uncle's house one summer.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
With zero instruction. The uncle provided absolutely no guidance.
Nothing to do but read the random books lying around.
The brother became a voracious, lifelong reader.
The over-engineered environment destroyed passion, but the blank space fostered genuine curiosity.
We constantly try to fill kids' lives with optimized learning when what they need is empty space.
Curiosity has to be discovered in a void. But we have to acknowledge the weird silver lining of the father's strictness.
Oh, the defense mechanism.
Because he was silenced as a child, he developed an iron will to never let anyone put words in his mouth again.
He literally writes, "What is a mouth for?" He learned to fiercely defend his own voice.
And that refusal to comply defines his approach to studying later, like his methodology for learning English.
It sounds like absolute madness at first.
He transfers schools in junior high and is completely lost in English class. He has gaping holes in his grammar.
Standard pedagogy says you are failing, you simplify. You focus on one source.
But he does the exact opposite. He doubles his workload. He studies 2 different textbooks simultaneously.
And we have to ask why this worked, because it violates every rule of cognitive load theory.
Right.
By studying 2 textbooks that covered the same grammar from slightly different angles, the volume created a 3D stereoscopic picture.
It's pattern recognition. If you stare at one flat image, you don't get the shape. 2 angles, it pops into 3D.
He writes that the joy of discovering patterns anesthetized the pain of studying. Making it harder made the learning stickier.
He attacked his weaknesses sideways. He does this again in high school. He's failing math miserably.
He has zero chance of passing regular entrance exams for a top university.
Most kids would double down on math tutors. He pivots entirely. He hears about a rare university recommendation based solely on English.
Ignoring math completely.
And to get it, he memorizes Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech. All 16 minutes.
In 3 weeks. And he didn't even fully understand the deep political context at first, just the phonetics and rhythm.
The musicality of it.
And in the interview, he essentially unleashed this monumental oration, and they practically handed him the recommendation.
He used his failure in math as fuel to do something spectacular in English. He changed the rules.
But years later, he applies a similar sideways logic to his own son.
And this is where I really have to push back on the sources, because this part made me super uncomfortable.
Let's dive into it.
His son is terrified of failing the entrance exam for a prestigious school called K University in the text.
The pressure is immense.
The kid is deteriorating under the stress, and the author's genius parental advice is, just don't take the exam.
Yeah, he tells him to drop it completely.
Okay, isn't that terrible parenting? The lesson should be, face your fears, take the test, even if you fail.
You think it teaches cowardice?
Exactly. Telling your kid to run away from a hard exam teaches them to quit at the first sign of adversity.
If you view the exam as the objective measure of his worth, yes. But look at the psychological reality.
Okay.
The author saw the son wasn't just struggling academically, he was buckling under the toxic identity of the kid who must pass to have value.
The exam was an executioner.
By explicitly forbidding him from taking it, the father removed the existential dread. It was a tactical reallocation of mental resources.
A retreat to save the army.
Sometimes the most resilient thing you can do is refuse to participate in a system destroying your mental health.
And the result speaks for itself, right?
The moment he dropped that burden, his confidence returned. He studied for other schools unburdened and passed another top-tier university.
He taught him how to reframe the battlefield, which, interestingly, is a level of narrative subversion the author actually learned from watching children's anime in the 60s and 70s.
The dark, complex adult truths hidden in Saturday morning cartoons.
Adults assume kids want simple morality tales, but he talks about the original Ultraman series.
Kids supposedly want fast action, like a samurai strike.
Yeah.
But Ultraman is incredibly inefficient.
Right. He only has 3 minutes of energy on Earth. But instead of just firing his beam instantly, he wrestles, he gets beaten up.
The author realizes this wasteful fighting actively teaches the adult concept of teasing and catharsis.
If he wins instantly, there's no story.
The agonizing ticking clock makes the final release satisfying. It's a masterclass in emotional payoff.
And then there's 8-Man. He preferred 8-Man over Astro Boy because Astro Boy felt too clean.
There's an episode where a super intelligent AI, basically a mutant genius brain, is about to be wiped out by a falling bomb.
And 8-Man has a laser that can easily shoot it down. The AI knows this, calculates the odds, and arrogantly tells 8-Man to save it.
But 8-Man doesn't shoot it down immediately. He waits.
He pretends he doesn't know what to do. He waits until the bomb is seconds away, until the AI is shaking with terror, begging for its life.
Only then does he destroy the bomb.
It's an incredibly dark, almost sadistic choice.
He forced a cold intellect to experience primal human fear. He needed the AI to understand vulnerability.
A massive moral lesson buried in a cartoon. But nothing tops the trauma of Tiger Mask and Sasarai no Taiyu.
Both aired their final episodes on the exact same day in 1971.
The TV anime ending of Tiger Mask featured the hero brutally murdering the villain in the ring with broken tables.
A blood-soaked execution meant for children.
While the comic book ending had the hero tragically die in a traffic accident saving a kid.
But it was Sasarai no Taiyu, wandering son, that haunted him for decades.
He caught the ending credits for weeks, mesmerized by the melancholic vibe of the main character Nozomi, but missed the final episode.
He spends 35 years trying to find the comic book to see the conclusion.
35 years. And when he finally reads it in 2006, it's a twisted soap opera nightmare.
Babies switched at birth by a vindictive nurse named Michiko.
Nozomi falls in love with the boxer she thinks is her brother. They clear it up, get engaged, and then the boxer steps on a rusty nail.
He contracts tetanus, and Michiko, the nurse, crashes her car into the vehicle delivering the serum.
The boxer dies in Nozomi's arms. It's a devastating outcome. But the true revelation is Nozomi's reaction.
She discovers Michiko caused the crash, but she doesn't seek revenge.
She chooses to forgive the woman who murdered her fiancé.
The author realizes that true salvation isn't a happy ending where the universe rewards the good. Salvation is internal agency.
Her power to choose forgiveness stops the cycle of vengeance. It's such a mature concept to carry from a comic book.
Which perfectly segues into how adults codify justice into societal structures, like corporate rules.
Section 3. So the author observes a factory floor with a strict safety rule, but 30% of the workers are actively violating it.
Conventional logic dictates a massive crackdown, stricter enforcement, compliance training.
But the author looks at the data. 30% are breaking the rule, but 0 accidents are happening.
This raises a massive red flag. If safety isn't compromised, the rule isn't protecting anyone. It's just a performance of safety.
The counterintuitive solution isn't stricter enforcement, it's abolishing the rule entirely.
Because keeping a useless rule normalizes rule breaking. Employees will start assuming other rules are stupid too.
And the tragic irony is the company's improvement proposal system is so complex, it takes an hour to file the paperwork.
Institutional gridlock.
Yeah.
Which maps perfectly onto the legal documents in our stack about consumer contract law.
Article 10 specifically.
Let's use the parking ticket example. A business has a sign. Lost ticket penalty, 30,000 yen.
They think they're setting a massive blanket penalty to deter people from lying.
But under Article 10, this strategy actually destroys their legal protection.
Wait, really?
Yes. Article 10 voids contract clauses that unilaterally impair consumer interests beyond what is reasonable.
So charging a flat 30,000 yen, regardless of if you parked for 10 minutes or 10 days.
The court views it as an excessively broad punitive penalty. The clause is struck down entirely.
They lose all protection and might only recover the actual 300 yen cost.
It's the paradox of rigidity. A highly rigid system shatters under pressure.
Like a skyscraper. Engineers build them to sway, not to be perfectly stiff.
A contract that allows for nuance is legally durable. One that demands absolute compliance shatters.
Speaking of rigid blanket terms, let's look at the ambiguity of language in society. And as a quick warning to listeners, we are impartially reporting the author's views here, not endorsing a political stance.
Exactly. The author's breakdown of how language functions in a democracy is incredibly sharp.
After a recent election where the ruling party won, a prominent scholar demanded young voters take responsibility for voting wrongly just because they wanted economic stability.
The author points out the comical hypocrisy here. Democracy is built on the right to make choices, experience the outcomes, and change your mind.
A scholar demanding voters take responsibility for a vote they personally disagree with denies the basic mechanism of democracy.
It assumes a static, infallible, correct choice exists.
The right to be wrong is the cornerstone. And he extends this to the phrase anti-war.
Growing up right after World War II, anti-war was an absolute moral truth. But he realizes the phrase has become dangerously ambiguous.
It means everything from don't attack anyone preemptively to don't possess a military to surrender immediately if invaded.
Because it's universally accepted as good, people stop questioning its practical meaning.
It becomes a thought-terminating cliche that paralyzes society from having granular geopolitical conversations.
You feel morally righteous, but are functionally defenseless.
And this reliance on unexamined statistical assumptions governs our public behavior too, like the buffet essay.
At a Japan-US student conference, the Japanese students formed a single file line and took a perfectly balanced meal.
But the American students treated it like foraging, grabbed 5 sausages or just coffee.
The Japanese students self-restricted, even when given explicit freedom.
The internal programming to maintain harmony overrode the sign saying, take what you want.
Humans are probability machines. The statistical safety of blending in outweighed the desire for bacon.
He tests this with names too. If you page Sato or Suzuki in a train station, they often ignore it at first.
Because statistically, it might not be them. They use the commonality as a shield against social embarrassment.
But if your name is Satome, a rare name, you whip your head around instantly.
You are exposed.
And this leads to his most profound observation on prejudice, specifically LGBTQ discrimination.
He argues a lot of discrimination doesn't stem from pure malice, but from a blank space of non-understanding.
Right. Heterosexual norms are ambiently modeled everywhere. Disney movies, commercials, real life.
But LGBTQ relationships have historically been excluded from that ambient modeling.
So a well-meaning person might understand the concept, but lack the practical, mundane social script of how to interact.
The prejudice is often a manifestation of internal anxiety. The brain's probability machine fails.
It doesn't have the script, so it feels unsafe and becomes hostile. Society models majority norms exhaustively, but leaves minority norms as unexplained exceptions.
The blank space breeds fear. You have to fill it with mundane, everyday understanding. Normalize by showing the ordinary.
Such a brilliant framing. Okay, let's pivot to section 4. Love, marriage, and family. The author's life is a masterclass in emotional contradictions.
Starting with first love, the clinic essay.
He's 15, going to a clinic for an inflamed ankle, and he sees an apprentice nurse 2 years older.
He described her as an angel with spun gold hair. He's helplessly smitten.
He starts faking stomach aches just to see her, putting his dad's terrible hair liquid in to look older.
For 50 years, he believed it was a pathetic, unrequited crush.
But looking back, you remember she encouraged his English exams. She admired his ambition.
The gap between them was just societal and class-based. The affection was mutual.
But the kicker, she tells him she's getting married.
And he asks what the guy is like.
She says he's like Eikichi Yazawa.
The author's absolute rock star idol.
You cannot compete with Yazawa. It's devastating.
But Yazawa himself once said in a magazine, "It's fine for a first love, it's better not to end up together."
The ultimate peak end rule.
By ending cleanly at the peak, she remained a flawless angel in his memory for 50 years.
Her rejection was a gift. It was a good end. Which contrasts with what happens when you do end up together, as he explores in marriage.
The inside face versus outside face theory.
He argues men show their polite outside face while dating and keep showing it in marriage because they operate in the outside corporate world.
While women historically showed an outside face dating, but reverted to their unfiltered inside face once married and back in their domain.
So the man wakes up 3 years in and thinks, who is this highly opinionated person?
This leads to how people handle negative emotions. Swallowers versus spitters.
The author is a swallower. He represses his anger.
It's a survival mechanism for the outside world. You can't yell at your boss or you'll be labeled unstable.
But people who live primarily in their inner world feel safe enough to spit it out. They complain and vent.
Friction happens when these types collide. A swallower explodes at home and terrifies the family.
A spitter complains at a restaurant and mortifies the swallower.
The spitters aren't overly emotional, they just feel a level of emotional safety the swallowers suppress.
It reframes a nagging spouse as someone who feels entirely safe with you. And now, the mother essay, the absolute emotional core.
I couldn't love my mother. A brutally honest look at a dysfunctional relationship.
She was governed by bizarre, hypocritical logic. She forced a premature C-section just so the younger brother's birthday fell before the school cutoff date.
Prioritizing bureaucracy over her child's health.
She sabotaged the author's studying by throwing loud parties because she hated his backdoor English recommendation.
But then pretended to her friends he passed the regular math exams.
She rewrote reality for her pride, so years later she dies in a nursing home.
And at the funeral, the author feels nothing, a complete emotional void.
He watches his father and brother weeping, giving performative speeches, and he genuinely wonders if he's a sociopath.
But the resolution to his grief is so specific.
Months later, alone in his house, he buys Aminato, these cheap sweet beans she loved.
Yeah, he rips the bag open and tips them directly into his mouth in this sloppy, greedy way.
His wife catches him and scolds him for terrible manners, and in that exact ridiculous moment, the dam breaks.
He realizes his bond wasn't in sanitized, fabricated memories. It was in her distorted, true reality.
She was a weird, improper woman. By eating the sweets in her messy way, he felt her presence.
A profound rejection of performative grief. True bonds are found in acknowledging the exact flaws of the person you lost.
Fills the blank space with something so raw. Which brings us to the final section, the edges of human perception.
How our brains construct reality, like the essay on hearing silence.
Right. If you lie in a pitch black room, is your brain just resting?
Neuroscience says no. The brain processes silence as an event. One silence is more.
If a continuous silence is interrupted by a beep, the brain perceives the unbroken silence as more substantial.
It burns energy decoding the void, which applies to how we dream.
You sleep for 3 minutes but have an hour-long dream movie.
Because dreams are built on trivial background noise, not main events.
The brain takes discarded fragments and weaves epic narratives.
Which leads to a radical medical philosophy for coma patients.
We treat the comatose as empty vessels, but their brains might be silently processing.
If trivial stimuli rewrite a normal dream, we should systematically play gentle sounds to the comatose.
A favorite song, a recorded family conversation.
Their hyper-fast brain could spin that into decades of happy simulated memories.
Writing a happy ending in someone's closed-off mind, it's staggering.
And this desire to use external tools for internal discovery is how he views AI in 2026.
People use AI to code or write marketing emails, like a smart forklift.
But the author feeds 30 of his personal essays into an AI to create a user manual for his own personality.
It gives him a brutally objective psychological breakdown of his blind spots and tendencies.
Using high tech for playful self-discovery is the ultimate human adaptation.
He gives the example of a 70-year-old grandmother. She never learned computers. Her kids roll their eyes at her.
But with voice-to-image AI, she bypasses typing entirely.
She talks to the phone and holds up her physical calligraphy to the camera, and the AI perfectly integrates it into a professional presentation.
She leaps over digital natives because she has the actual lived human wisdom the AI needs to make something beautiful.
She becomes the new breed. The tool adapts to her humanity, which brings us to the final perfect metaphor.
Searching for things.
The author tears his room apart looking for a specific pair of warm socks, emptying drawers, getting frustrated.
He finally gives up.
He sits on the bed, takes off his pants, and looks at his feet.
He was already wearing the socks.
The entire time.
Yeah.
It's like that Yosui Inui lyric, you find what you're looking for when you stop looking.
It's the absolute synthesis. The 85-year-old man accepted illness and found longevity. The author embraced the foot massage pain and found energy.
The brother found a love of reading in the blank space.
The son found success by walking away from the exam.
And the author found his mother's true essence in a bag of cheap sweet beans.
We spend our lives building complex systems to force the world to give us what we want, tearing the room apart for the socks.
But the answers are often already worn on our feet, the flexibility to embrace contradictions.
Common sense is a baseline, but the most meaningful parts of life exist when you betray it.
What a journey. From foot pain to Ultraman to AI therapy. To wrap this up, think about the one rule in your life you defend the hardest.
A boundary or a career goal.
What if you did the exact opposite tomorrow? If 30% of your rules are failing you, drop the exam. Let the building sway. See what new breed of yourself emerges. Until next time, keep diving deep.